and uplift. Work hard. It's what I was born to do. It's important for you to understand that your experience facing and overcoming adversity is actually one of your biggest advantages. Everybody wants to fulfill the highest, truest expression of yourself.
Negative voices in your head will drive you crazy if you listen, but not today. Here on the Shift and Uplift podcast, we help you laugh at your fears, best friend your soul, and believe that you can. For those of you who's joining us for the first time, this podcast is your go-to for personal growth, transformation, and discovering happiness in the most unexpected places. Every week, we break down life's wild ride, from untangling the chaos of relationships and career pivots to dishing out real talk about entrepreneurship, all while sprinkling a little bit of wanderlust wisdom from my globe-trotting adventures. You'll get a dose of radical self-love and inspiration that isn't afraid to be raw and unfiltered. Because let's be real, procrastination has overstayed its welcome. And it's time to grow, glow, and show up as the phenomenal person you were meant to be. So let's dance through the chaos, dream big, and make magic happen right here, right now. Grab your tea, turn up the volume, and let's dive in. So as I say, buckle up, because always, this is a wild ride. We're not just serving you the tools, but it's the entire toolkit of tricks and tips to help you get up off that comfy seat and onto your feet. We want to break the chain of procrastination together and embark on a journey of growth so you can just be a better version of yourself. We will get to talking about entrepreneurship and so many other things, but first, we just kind of have to build up ourselves to be the best version of ourselves as a person. Without having the foundation of who you are intact to be great, everything else is just going to crumble to pieces. So when it comes to intersecting business brilliance, jet setting, traveling, and the art of self-love, it's a journey. It is a journey. As they say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. What I wanted to touch on today was just kind of loving through the chaos and staying affectionate even on mad days. Have you ever had one of those days where your man or your partner just kind of got on your nerves, and it feels like he maybe woke up with the sole mission of testing your patience? Maybe it's something small, like he forgot to take out the trash, or it could be something bigger, like a hurtful comment or a forgotten promise. Whatever it is, you're upset. But here's the real question. How do you still love him through it? Let me take you back to a time where I had one of those days, a few of those days. But hey, we're talking about one. And I was boiling mad, like frustrated, hurt, and ready to lock myself in the bathroom with my tea, my ice with water, and just watch Netflix for hours. But then I remembered, this is the same person who helped me when I cried. This is the same person who cheered for me when I doubted myself. This is the same person who loved me when I didn't even know if I could love myself. That's the blessing I prayed for. The perspective shift, I would say it's what saved us that day. And today we're going to talk about exactly that. How to love your person even when you're mad, or as I always say, on mad day. This is about keeping love alive when emotions run high. It's about honoring the relationship you built even when it feels like the walls are shaking. So I hope you got your tea, your wine, your coffee, and your favorite blanket, whatever works for you. Just get cozy because this is going to be a heartfelt, real, and healing conversation. And keep in mind, this isn't just for relationships, romantic relationships. It can be with friendships when you get mad at your friend, your best friend, your family member, just those uncomfortable situations that you kind of never want to be in with people that you care for. Now, when it comes to loving him at his best and not judging him at his worst, I would say when your partner falls short, and let's be real, they will. It's easy to focus on the disappointment. But here's a little mindset shift that works wonders. Instead of fixating on who that person is in the moment of failure, remind yourself who they are at their best. Think about the times that they shown up for you, they supported you, and they were the person that you prayed for. It doesn't mean excuse their bad behavior. Gosh, no. It just means kind of lead with love and understand, and even in the moment of frustration. Now, when we talk about this, it's really important to kind of touch on the subject of why a lot of people don't open up, specifically why men struggle with opening up. Let's just dive into the psychology for a moment. A lot of men, I feel, are terrified to fully open up because they've been taught that vulnerability equals weakness. Past relationships, childhood trauma, and the need to be the strong one, it can leave them emotionally guarded. They worry that if they open up, you might use it against them later. As a woman, we create a safe space where they feel seen and heard and accepted for who they are, even in that moment of what they think is weakness when they're really just being human. I would say a quick tip for that is when he opens up the door or that person opens up the door, cherish that moment, honor that moment. A simple thank you so much for sharing that with me, it can really mean the world to them. Men often fear that being vulnerable and opening up, it just means they're weak, right? And if there's any men or people that's listening and feel that way, it's not true. You may feel that sharing your feelings can make you feel less in control and less powerful, less masculine. And you may worry that you're going to be judged or rejected or ridiculed by others. And I feel it's not necessarily your partner, or sometimes it's not us that made them feel that way. A lot of times it's just reinforced by traditional gender roles that encourage people to put on that emotional restraint. The socialized masculinity. Society often portrays that being a man means suppressing emotions and displaying strength. And if you do anything other than that, it makes men feel uncomfortable with being vulnerable. Sometimes they feel like they're going to be judged, and no person of power or masculine energy wants to be judged because they don't want to be seen as weak or not manly enough if they share their emotions with you openly. A lot of times men or masculine energy have difficulty with emotional expressions, because they struggle to identify and articulate their feelings because they never had to, or never wanted to, or never felt comfortable to. So it makes it even harder to open up, because what exactly do you say, right? Sometimes it's their past experiences, negative experiences with expressing emotions, such as being mocked or dismissed or ignored. A lot of that can lead to them being reluctant and scared to be vulnerable in the future. when it comes to like intimacy, sometimes being vulnerable can be seen as a sign of deep connection, which a lot of times it can be frightening for men who are afraid of getting too close to others. A lot of times it's a defense mechanism. So for those who are potentially struggling with that, or if you know someone who you notice that they are having trouble with that, sometimes you just have to help them challenge society norms. Recognize that them being vulnerable is a sign of strength. It takes courage to be vulnerable, and it's a sign of emotional intelligence, not weakness. You have to build trust with the person and understand that they'll only open up to people that they feel safe and comfortable with. So don't do anything to threaten that place with them, because then they'll never open up. And I would say another thing is practice self-awareness for them and for you. Sometimes the person that's scared to open up, you have to identify your emotions and learn healthy ways to express them. And on the receiving end, we have to help them with that space, right? Because it's going to take time and patience. It's not a blame game. Vulnerability is what connects us to other human beings, but everyone hasn't always had a place to be that. It's when we expose something about ourselves, whether it be experiences, emotions, feelings, or, and behaviors to another person in order to form that connection and learn about each other. Since childhood, many men are taught that being vulnerable means you're super whack and super weak and not cool and you're lame and you're not a man and you can't cry and all of this kind of stuff. So you're not supposed to be that. And after so many years of the most important people in their life telling them that, it's going to be hard for you to just come along and erase that. It takes time. No one wants to get their feelings hurt by something that they already felt was going to hurt their feelings. Being vulnerable helps you improve your quality of life. It also takes away the pressure that they have to do it on their own. You don't have to do this on your own unless you don't have to do this on your own. There's actually a study out there that shows that being able to voice your feelings actually helps decrease the impact of someone's emotions and overcome them faster. Therefore, being vulnerable with someone creates the opportunity to put words to feelings and process them. No one likes to feel uncomfortable and vulnerable. You just kind of got to think for a moment about what it takes to say something like this when you're someone who so used to protecting your image. And mental health conversations are becoming increasingly normal. And many people are opening up about issues like depression and anxiety, right? But there's so many men out there that still struggle in silence out of fear of disappointing those around them and not living up to the standards of what a man is supposed to be. Even with today's open conversations, men are still having a hard time speaking up and being vulnerable. It means I'm weak and I'm failing them. They really think that. A person told me that he felt like he couldn't share his problems because that person, maybe I wouldn't depend on him. Or maybe that means like I wouldn't look at him as the stronger person, or like he was failing me. And as he said it, my heart dropped, because it's like, why would I look at you as not my protector or not my person or not this amazing human being because you're showing me that you're human? But then I had to think, it depends on what they're used to. It depends on the experiences they have and so many other things that you maybe just didn't want to share, right? If you're not at your best, you're at your worst. And if you're not at your best, you're not producing. And sometimes being vulnerable means for them that They're not at their best. I feel like so many men face the battle of what it means to be a man. One space we see it especially is I feel like it's very hard for the younger generation, especially because they're so used to compartmentalizing their I feel like it's so hard for the younger generation because many people are so used to compartmentalizing their aggression and many people just feel like being a man feels like you have to suck it up no matter what and hold in your feelings because no one really wants to hear it. You have to be strong and do the work and just put your head down and act like everything is okay. Many men may even feel they either fit they either fit under the label as weak or strong. It's no in between. And it's not their fault because it's deeply rooted in society and evolution and so many other things. Men are supposed to do this, women are supposed to be this. Women are supposed to say, I love you, men are supposed to say, you too. No, it's all wrong. And a lot of times, what people don't understand is you're being taught by people who were not great people and were not great examples of what being a man was. Trust is definitely easier said than done. It's hard to earn and it's so easy to lose. But just like anything else, you can build trust in yourself and in your partner and in your relationship and friendships, just taking it one step at a time. You just kind of got to think of a plan. I feel like 8 steps to embrace vulnerability would be number 1, make a decision. The first step is to decide that you're willing to be patient with someone and the person who needs it is willing to do the work to break through that weird area of feeling uncomfortable. No one can do anything for you if you're not willing to do it and help yourself, to help motivate yourself. Just visualize and think about the outcome. Think about it as if you were playing sports. What if by talking to someone, you kind of feel a weight lifted off your shoulder? What would it feel like to unpack that heavy stuff that just burdens you? Just imagine how you would feel. You just kind of got to use that connection to, you got to use that connection to the feeling. Number 2, have a growth mindset. Just because you've always handled things on your own and that's what felt most comfortable, it doesn't mean it's the best and it doesn't mean that it's the best long-term solution. It doesn't mean it's the best thing to do and it doesn't mean that it's the greatest long-term solution to do. You just kind of got to take a couple bricks out the wall that you've built to protect yourself by going slow. Get into a growth mindset where you're able to actually embrace the new opportunities to build your strength. Number 3 is ask for help. I know that can be challenging. I would just say find someone who you actually do trust and who have shown you that they can be there for you and they are there for you. And a place where you maybe feel like your feelings can be validated. This is one reason why coaches and people and their therapists, they start there because they trust them to not tell anyone. And that's what it all boils down to. No one wants no one to know or that you're going to tell someone and they're going to look at you like weak too. No, that's not the case. Sometimes the people that you trust, I'm sure you can find one person, they'll create that space for you to just let certain things out. It may be one of the hardest steps of all because you're going out your comfort zone and asking for help when your nervous system is already probably going through it. But think of it this way. Asking for help doesn't mean that you're depending on anyone else to solve your problems. It just means you're willing to fight for your well-being. Asking for help isn't weak. It's fighting for yourself. Number 4, be open. When you first reach out to help, When you first reach, number 4, be open. When you first reach out for help, try different avenues and have an open mind. Go into the process with an intention to be open as best as you can anyway. But keep in mind that the inner work lasts for a lifetime, and just take as much as you can take, and sometimes more than others. But it's discipline. Just be open on your journey, because the big picture is it's going to work out. Number 5, say what you need to. The act of speaking things out has been shown to reduce stress. So when you speak, you're actually acknowledging your emotions and you're connecting with another human being, both which are super great and have a ton of benefits. You just need the person to listen and then say, hey, I just need a vent for a minute. Hey, I just need a vent for a minute. Hey, I just need a vent for a minute. I don't need a solution. I just need to get this off my chest. But if you do need to brainstorm anything, then you tell them that too. But just have someone that you can kind of just speak your mind. Number 6, check your self-judgment at the door. I think one of the most difficult parts about being vulnerable is that we're opening up the door to voicing the things that we judge ourselves so bad for. Now, adding to that, we may fear that others are also slightly judging us, which is kind of normal to think that way. But this is why it's so important to find a safe space where you feel supported, where others accept you as you are, and you just have an easier time accepting yourself. Number 7, your inner peace is yours. Speaking of judgments, your inner peace is yours. Speaking of judgments, remember that your inner peace should not be dependent on anything external. It's not your job to keep everyone else's peace if it costs you your own. You cannot save everyone if you lose yourself. So work on accepting that. And number 8, look at the bigger picture. You are more than the outcomes you produce or what you provide to others. You are a whole human being. So I bring that awareness to you because you need to understand. Take time with yourself and be patient with yourself. And if you're one of the people who want someone to open up for you, then I would say the first step is to listen without judgment, but also provide words of affirmation. Or even if you're someone who have someone and you want them to be the person that you can open up to, you just got to remember everybody that wants to feel seen and heard and validated and feel like they're supported. And that's the basis for creating a safe and trusting situation or relationship. If you tell someone that you're there for them and they open up and they share their feelings with you, and then you shut them down by telling them not to feel that way or maybe poking fun or joking around, and likely you just ended it. They're going to nod their head and they're going to make a note to never tell you nothing again. So if you are one of the people who want someone to open up to you, you just kind of got to be open and be ready to listen, regardless of how you view the situation. Let them know that you understand and you hear what they're saying. People don't always want a solution. Sometimes they just want to feel heard and validated. It's really that simple. And at the end, the person who I was talking about earlier, when he shared that with me, he felt an instant sense of relief. After I said that, he told me that after he said that, he felt more relaxed and kind of felt like it was some weight lifted off because he's so used to carrying everything around and doing everything himself, or like bearing everything. So I would say that now, with that being said, I do want to shift gears just a little bit from vulnerability and, being open, having someone being open with you, to pouring into empty cups. So let's shift the spotlight a little bit. Relationships thrive on appreciation and respect and attention. So if you're constantly pouring love into your partner but not getting it back, then it's gonna become completely draining. This brings us to one of those signs you may be outgrowing someone. This brings us to one of the signs you may see if you're outgrowing someone. And I would say the top 3 signs that I notice a lot of people may feel is if you're doing all the emotional heavy lifting, if you're the person who always have to be intact with your emotions and babying that person and no one is just baby you, then sometimes that's problematic, right? If the chemistry is there, but the compatibility isn't, then you may be outgrowing that person. If you're no longer inspired by each other, you may be outgrowing that person. If any of these resonates with you, it may be time to reevaluate whether you're watering a garden. Hey, it may be time to reevaluate whether you're watering a garden that just can't grow. If any of these if you feel like you relate to any of these, you may just need to take a moment to reconsider things and see, are you watering a garden that just won't grow? Now, when it comes to modern relationships and, just having the wrong expectations, I would definitely say modern dating has challenges. Some women and men are so focused on validation and attention that they actually forget that relationships requires, you know, the person to be your reflection, for you to mirror them and them to put in what they're getting and what they want and just all of that goodness. If you're in a situation where you're giving, giving, giving and not receiving, it's not love, it's imbalance and it's maybe security for the other person. And let's clear something up really quick. When someone changes on you, it's not your job to keep chasing after that version of them that you met at first. People evolve. And the question is, are they evolving with you or away from you? Because no one wants to build someone for the next person. So go back and think about that. And we talk about it here a lot on the podcast because it has so much to do with, us every day as people. But when it's time to let go, here are a few signs that you may have outgrown someone. When their presence feel like a chore, not a joy. When you're compromising your peace to keep the relationship alive. Like maybe they're doing all this stuff and you don't feel like arguing because you love them. So you're giving in and you're apologizing. Well, you're not the problem. It's them. Even though you are becoming the problem solver temporarily, what you don't understand is you're supporting their behavior because now you just told them it was not them, it was you. So they're going to keep acting that way. A third thing I would say is when you lost sight of who you are because you're so focused on who they are. Sometimes the kindest thing that you can do for them and for you is to let go. Yeah, I know it's going to hurt, but rip that Band-Aid off. Now, what I do want to end this note on is, it's really imperative and important to love someone through growth. And to love someone even on the days when they drive you crazy and make you mad. Even on the days when someone drive you crazy and make you mad, it's not about pretending that everything is perfect. It's just about choosing to focus on the love and the respect and the joy that they bring you and you guys have. And if the foundation starts to crack, then just be willing to be brave enough to rebuild or walk away. Now, when it comes to this craziness, the love chapter, I just want to say thank you for tuning in through the love and through the chaos. I just want you to remember that relationships are a journey and friendships are a journey, and having those great, relationships with family members are a journey. None of those are destinations. The goal isn't always perfection. It's about growth and understanding and mutual respect. So to the passengers, yeah, fam, just want you to remember you are freaking amazing and you deserve the best. So don't settle for anything less. Take control of your life, break those unhealthy ties, and nurture those that are worth keeping around. And just watch how your world will open up. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the Shift and Uplift podcast. If you love this episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review and share it with a friend. And as always, please connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. ThejaqueAllen. Until next time.
Facing and overcoming adversity is actually one of your biggest advantages. Everybody wants to fulfill the highest, truest expression of yourself.